fishing news is brought to you by Navionics, Okuma, Yozuri, Evinrude, Llama Glass, and the Star Island Yacht Club in Montauk, New York.
Cute kid, huh? Now you know why a 52-year-old man hates clowns. I'm Jim Hutchinson with a New Jersey, Delaware Bay edition of the Fisherman magazine, here on the block where it all started for me just about 50 years ago, right here in Ocean City, when my dad brought the first striped bass that I had ever seen. I'm not sure why I'm wearing clown pajamas, but this was the first striper, and it was right here along the street in Ocean City. Now the neighborhood has changed a lot since I was here. Of course, so has our striped bass fishery. It's gone up, it's gone down, it went up again, and of course now it's a little bit down again. And that is why we have these striped bass hearings coming up. You know all the stories, you've read about it in the most recent editions of The Fisherman and at thefisherman.com. We are going to be looking at some striped bass regulatory changes for 2020. Well, the state has scheduled their hearings. In fact, one of them is here in Ocean City, just up the road a little bit. That's going to be Wednesday, September 4th, 6 p.m. at the Ocean City Library. That's at 1725 Simpson Avenue. The first meeting is in North Jersey. That's Tuesday, September 3rd, 6 p.m. Roselle Park Borough Hall, 110 East Westfield Avenue in Roselle Park. And then the final New Jersey hearing on striped bass will be Thursday, September 12th at 6 p.m. at Bay Avenue Community Center. That's 775 East Bay Avenue in Manahawkin. Now, folks in Pennsylvania and Delaware, you have not been shut out. In Pennsylvania, you've got your meeting August 28th, 7 p.m. at the Silver Lake Nature Center. That's at 1306 Bath Avenue in Bristol, PA. And in Delaware, August 29th, 6 p.m. at the DNREC Auditorium. That's at 89 Kings Highway in Dover, Delaware. The striped bass options are written up at thefisherman.com. You could get a look at them and you could see the whole story on what we're going to be talking about in the next couple of weeks. Now remember, we took striped bass off the Dreamboat leaderboard back in 2015 at the first downturn in striped bass. In fact, you folks that run tournaments, clubs, you're going to want to visit these meetings because these regulations could have a serious impact on tournaments. Now for the Fisherman magazine, we had the unique opportunity, of course, of picking any other species. We selected sea robin. Don't laugh. Sea robin has become a pretty tasty trash fish on the local fishing grounds. Regrettably, in the Fisherman magazine's Dreamboat leaderboard, we don't have any sea robin entries in New Jersey. In fact, the guy who's at the top of that list is Garrett Weir of New York, 4.1 pounder. He's also the guy who's running away with the entire Dreamboat contest right now. And he has a lot of folks scrambling, just like Christopher Miklos here of Jackson. He scrambled and traveled to Hyannis for the top fluke in the contest right now. It's 13.85 pounds. It was also the fish of the month for July. So you don't have to be like Garrett and necessarily compete for the top prize, a Steiger. But if you're like Christopher Miklos, all you have to be is on that board. He's already won a Fish of the Month prize. Remember, that Fisherman magazine subscribers-only Dreamboat contest carries over all the way through November. Lots of chances to win. Now, in terms of summer flounder, we are looking at a few keepers here and there, depending on where you are. Of course, Raritan Bay, this late September into late August into September timeframe is always a top time to visit the Raritan, that deep water for the doormats. In fact, Raritan Bay is where Brian Bosco hit this 5-pounder earlier this week. We're getting a lot of 5s and 6s and 7s up there. Hopefully a few more doormats coming in. My friend Jimmy O'Donnell jumped on the big Mohawk out of Belmar. Bucktails and gulp. He and Nick Cicero told me everybody's bucktailing and gulping, which is a pretty good sign. The big Mohawk pool winner, Jimmy O'Donnell, with an 8-pounder this week. Of course, the best catches this time are coming from that deep water. The deep water lumps and bumps, and of course, all that structure offshore. And throughout New Jersey and Delaware, a lot of great artificial reef structure where you can find some of those bigger fish. Again, it's all the same from Monmouth down through Ocean, Atlantic, and Cape May County into Delaware as well. In fact, Delaware, that's where New Jersey angler El Nino, the boat El Nino, Nino Aversa and crew scored $100,000 this past weekend in the Flounder Pounder out of Delaware, an 8.6 six-figure summer flounder. How about that? Don't discount those surf fluke either. This is the time of year where we have a lot of bait in the wash. There's the peanuts and finger mullet that are getting ready to come out, but we've got a lot of spearing and other stuff in the wash. Island Beach is where young Mason DeCaro here, he landed his first ever keeper this week. Checked in with the folks at Gabriel Tackle. Thanks for sharing that, Frank. Now, up in the surf, I found some Spanish mackerel and some small blues in the bayhead surf. In fact, I was fishing the bayhead surf with tins, with tsunami slim waves and deadly dicks on Monday or Tuesday, and I saw Alan Lee. He had jumped off the bigger boat and got on the mini Mushin and trolling some spoons and feathers right off the beach for Spanish mackerel. Some bonito as well popping up throughout the state of New Jersey. Bonito and Spanish mackerel, both tasty fish. The key is bleeding them and icing them right away. If you're fishing from the beach, bring a cooler full of ice, bleed them and ice them right away. And of course, we've got sheepshead along with triggers along the jetties throughout New Jersey as well. Triggers throughout the range and also into North Jersey. The sheepshead pretty much from Central to South Jersey. Eric Madison here, he scored a convict fish while fishing crab in Atlantic City. I've also heard of a few sheepshead in the Great Bay area as well. They're biting on calico crabs, and also you can't go wrong with cheddar crab on a crab jig. Looking along some of that structure, the bridges, and also those sod banks. Now, pushing out past the surf line just a bit, I've heard of a few chicken mahi in as close as state federal line. That's right, as far as 3 miles out. Of course, some folks like Kelsey Muller here pushing it just a little bit farther out for this nice mahi that she caught with her dad Roger before she was heading back to school at Harvard. Now, of course, 3 weeks ago, you knew the story. We talked about Jeff Wright. He hooked up with a 72.8-pound mahi at Poor Man's Canyon for a new Maryland state record. Well, that record did not last very long. Over the weekend, the record in Maryland was broken yet again, this time by a Maryland lady angler named Christy For Sure during the Poor Girls Fishing Tournament in Ocean City. 74.5 pounds. Again, that fish also caught at Poor Man's Canyon. Now, the offshore conditions this week along the coast, they're as up and down as the striped bass management measures. First, let's check in with George, our Pocono Outdoors guy.
Well, hey, thanks, Jim. You know, things have sure changed in the past week. Last week here in the Poconos, nighttime temps dipped down into the 40s, and I think it got us all excited for some fall turnover. Well, this week, look, it's back in the 90s. Lake temperatures are back up into the mid-80s, and the fish are still slow. But that doesn't mean we can't be successful. Regular's Rich Baits, I was out fishing and got into a couple really nice fish, and he was actually slowing it down using the worm. Now, Eric Goodstall was up north fishing on Harvey's Lake, and he tells us he was drop shotting and got into a couple really nice bass. So even big fish can be caught in this lazy weather. But just hold on, in another 6 weeks, all this nice green foliage will start turning color, and we'll start looking at that fall turnover. And I'll tell you what, Jim, we might even get you up here for a couple of those freshwater stripers. What do you say? Well, from Pennsylvania, I'm George, your Pocono Outdoors guy.
George, I say absolutely to that. I look forward to putting a couple of Maja spoons down to some landlocked stripers out there in Pennsylvania. Now, it does suddenly feel like we're in the waning days of summer. Of course we are. We're the second half of August, which, of course, it is also the best time of year to be offshore. I know they've got the Mid-Atlantic. They're competing for almost $4 million in cash this week. And of course, the Mid-Atlantic tournament is also why a lot of the reports have shut down. Everybody goes a little bit mum while they're fishing for that big tournament. Tight lips on the offshore grounds, but not so tight with the NOAA offshore weather conditions. From the Hudson to Baltimore, it looks a little bit bumpy Thursday through Sunday. 4 to 7 on Thursday, 3 to 6 Friday and Saturday. Supposed to build 4 to 8 by Sunday night. So definitely keep an eye on that weather forecast. And again, don't forget about the upcoming striped bass hearings. They're scheduled throughout the state of New Jersey and Delaware, all along the Atlantic coast. We've got all the details over at thefisherman.com. And of course, parents, I can only tell you this, please think about your child's future. No, not about striped bass conservation, that goes without saying. I'm talking about clown pajamas. Catch them up. We'll see you again next week right here at thefisherman.com.
Win the incredible Steigercraft Evinrude Lowrance Grand Prize Boat Package and more in the Fisherman's 2019 Dream Boat Fishing Challenge. Get the details now at thefisherman.com.